Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson, your co-host, lover of everything football. Can't wait for the NFL season to start. And tonight we are talking about offensive lines. So let's get it popping.
Ben, it's said that you build a football team from the inside out, meaning from your line out. So, we've done some of the other positions, and we still got a few position groups that we're going to do before the start of the preseason camp, things of that nature. And I know for me, this is educational. We both were skilled guys in the back, so a lot of times we hadn't been focusing on those guys inside, but we know the importance. If you play the game Madden, I'm a Madden guy, you know the importance. Might be a little different, your lineman situation in flag, though. How do you look at your lineman in flag, just in relationship, or do you even have linemen in flag?
Well, the closest thing to lineman and flag, and there's a lot of different styles of flag football. So when we talk about linemen, I'm going to reference the style that I'm used to playing and coaching, which is 8-man eligible flag football, which means it's 8 on 8. Everybody's eligible. But as far as linemen are concerned, offensively, you have a center and you have 2 guards. But the guards are not traditional guards in the tackle sense of football. They're more like blocking backs. Okay, so they line up in the backfield on either side of the center. They block, protect the quarterback, help set the pocket with the center, but they can also go out and receive passes. Defensively, we're talking about, in a basic defense in flag football, 3 pass rushers, nose guard, 2 ends. That's basically it. If a team comes out in a spread offense, you might only rush 2 and drop a man off, so you have an extra man in the secondary. There's a lot of different things you can do. But for just straight lineman responsibilities, is basically 3 down linemen on defense, all rushing the passer, and a center and 2 blocking backs protecting the quarterback.
So the blocking backs are the closest thing you have to, say, your guards or your tackles, and your center, always the center, Let me mention in the upcoming show, we want to go over a list put out by Bucky Brooks that actually ranks the importance of every position in football on the field. We'll assume that he has quarterback as the #1 position. But after that, it kind of gets a little surprising. So I always remind people to go to our Facebook page at BNBOF, Ben and Barry on Football. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Anchor Podcasts. And then also on the radio, online radio, every Friday from 6 to 7:30 at WJRL953.com. I got that all in, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Yes,
all right. Hey, look, let's get ready to kick this off because this is pretty serious, this list. This is some serious fun if you're a football player, because I played the line. I mean, it's not like I didn't play some line. You know what I mean? When I was in grade school, boom, line. You too big to be in the backfield. That's what they told us. They had rules. Said we were too big. Couldn't be over 140 pounds be in the backfield. So it was crazy. Now, this list, Ben, is different. This list is different than, as far as the authorship of where it came from, than the list we did last week. Am I correct? Was that a Pro Football Focus list we did last week also?
This is still Pro Football Focus.
All right, fantastic. So this is Pro Football Focus, the ranking of all 32 offensive line units ahead of the 2021 season. And we're going to start off counting backwards, and we're going to do the bottom half this week, and we'll do the top half next week. Good stuff?
Good stuff.
Who do we have kicking off as the team with the worst line?
Well, oh, wait. Don't say the worst line. First of all, before I even get started, let me just remind everybody, this list comes from Pro Football Focus. We respect Pro Football Focus, but we do not always agree with Pro Football Focus. But they decided to make a list, as they did with the other position groups, and they have to start somewhere and finish somewhere. And this is the list that they put out. So we're going to do it in their order. But I just want to remind people, I do not always agree with the order in which they put each team or each position group. That being said, number 32 is my New York Football Giants. Now, before everybody starts laughing and thinking that's really funny, let me just remind you that if you watch the NFL and if you watch the Giants, especially last season, you will realize that the offensive line was a weakness. That has been addressed. I'm not saying they're going to go from the bottom to the top. I'm just saying they did address the situation, and I expect them to be improved. And I will guarantee you right now, this day going forward, that they will not be ranked number 32 next year. Now, that being said, let me start off like this. At left tackle, we have Nate Solder. Nate Solder's been around for a long time. He's an 11-year vet, but he opted out last year because of COVID. So he's coming back this year. He will slot right in at left tackle, the most important position on the offensive line. And hopefully he's got his legs fresh and he's got his health in order and everything is great. At left guard, Shane Lemieux. This is only his second year. He was a rookie last year. He struggled a little bit against the run, or not against the run, but in run blocking and also in pass protection. But it's been noted by Pro Football Focus and a lot of other outlets that, and NFL scouts in particular, coaches and scouts in particular, that sometimes offensive linemen take 2 to 3 years to actually hit their stride. So sometimes a young offensive lineman may struggle his rookie year, or maybe even his second year, but usually around between his second and fourth years when they actually hit their stride. That's what the Giants are expecting from Shane Lemieux. At center, Nick Gates. He moved over to center from guard, and he held his own last season. Zach Fulton is projected as the right guard. He'll be competing, though, with Will Hernandez, who got a lot of time last year, actually started at right guard last year. And at right tackle, Matt Pert, who's also just going into his second year, should hold down the right tackle position. So that's what the Giants line will probably look like. That's how it looks right now, depth chart wise, and we'll see what happens once camp starts.
All right, Benny. So you took the bullet on that one with your New York Football Giants. Let me ask you one quick question.
Yes.
This was the PFF ranking.
Yes.
After you looked through this list, did you in your mind re-rank them according to your priority, or you just kind of left that alone?
I left it alone.
Okay.
I left it alone. I understand that Pro Football Focus puts a lot into their rankings. They rate each individual player and come out with some kind of average before they would rank an actual total position group. So, I'm not going to argue with them too much. I think the Giants offensive line, obviously they did struggle last year. So I can't have but so much of an argument. But I am very confident they will be much better, much improved this upcoming season.
Okay. Well, that's what you want to hear. That's what you want to hear. All right. Number 31. Offensive line. Go.
31. It's Carolina Panthers. First of all, Russell Okung came over to the Panthers last season Russell Okung is a respected veteran offensive lineman and left tackle, but he suffered a lot of injuries last season. I think he only played in a total of like 7 games. So injuries really held him back. And they basically, the Panthers basically just released him into free agency. I don't know that he's been picked up actually, even as of today. I don't think anybody's actually signed him to a contract. In the meantime, Cam Irving, who was basically a backup, has moved into the left tackle spot to take his place. Pat Elflein projects as the left guard. He was signed in free agency away from the Vikings. He struggles a little bit in pass protection, but he's a pretty good run blocker. That's where he is right now. And of course, they expect him to improve. Matt Paradise is the starting center. Now, here's the thing. His best years are behind him. He used to play for the Broncos. I believe he was an all-pro for a year or two, okay? But it seems like his best years are behind him, but he's still hanging in there. He'll be the starting center. He didn't play as well last year as he did in the previous 2, but, you know, he's holding his own, so they're going to go with him. John Miller will compete with Dennis Daly at right guard, and Taylor Moton pretty much has the right tackle spot sealed up. He's a stud. Usually when you have a stud offensive lineman or offensive tackle, and maybe he plays the right side, and you have problems on the left side, I've seen right tackles flip over to left tackle. But I've heard that it is not an easy transition. If anybody out there ever played high school or college or semi-pro or whatever, you know the difference between playing right tackle and left tackle. Your stance is different. Your drop steps, your kick step is different. It's not an easy transition, but if push came to shove, I think they would probably be able to move Taylor Moton over to the left side, and they would be okay with that. So, you know, he's a great blocker.
Okay. All right. We got Taylor Moton rated 85 on the Madden total rating. Matt is it Paradise we'll call him?
I think it's Paradise.
Rated at 78, and Elfling. Man, I should leave all the names to you. He's rated at 71. Pat.
Yes.
All right. Fantastic. Now, Ben, the next one on this list I struggle with because the leader at quarterback of this team needs a strong line, I think. And I was a little, when I saw that this is where their line came in at on the PFF rankings. What is this, 30?
Number 30, the Miami Dolphins. And I understand exactly what you're saying. And when I let you know what's going on with the Miami Dolphins offensive line, especially transitioning from last year into this season, you'll know exactly why. First off, they started or gave playing time, significant playing time, to 3 rookies last year. They're extremely young on their offensive line. They're bringing all those guys back, though. Left tackle Austin Jackson was a first-round pick. He struggled, but he was a first-round pick. So, again, I remind people, most scouts and coaches will tell you offensive linemen take a year to 3 years to actually hit their stride and get it going. So they're going to hang on to these young guys, especially a guy drafted in the first round. You know what I mean? And they're going to try to work with him and get him better. The left guard is Solomon Kindley. He'll be challenged, however, by a second-round rookie that was just picked in the second round this year, Liam Eichenberg. So that should be an interesting matchup in training camp to see if Eichenberg can take over for a guy who was a rookie last year and did not play extremely well. If Eichenberg comes in and becomes a stud right off the bat, then he could probably take Kinley's job. But right now, Kinley is still there at left guard. Eichenberg pushing for the spot. The right tackle is Robert Hunt. He was impressive, and he should hold on to that spot. He played well to be a young player. Jesse Davis is a 4-year vet. He's a vet coming in, and he's only been around for 4 years. But he was moved from right tackle to right guard, to make room for Robert Hunt. So he showed improved play last year, since he was the only guy that had been around for a while, but he did play relatively well. So that's their situation right now. They're going to stick with the young guys, and they're going to go with it. But they do have to protect Tua.
Interesting. Their Madden ratings are somewhat low. Austin Jackson, 65, Robert Hunt, 71, Solomon Kinley, 70. And I'm looking to see where the main weakness is. Now, again, Pro Football Focus looks at players one way. EA Sports, Madden, looks at players from a physical characteristic situation. So it's a little bit different. They're looking at speed, acceleration, strength, those combinations. And that was the first thing you said when you said they were somewhat young, was to look at their awareness. I'm surprised it's actually kind of high across the board. 80, 82 for Jackson, 85 for Hunt, and 84 for Kinley.
Right, which is probably why they're going to stick with these young guys and not go after guys in free agency and things like that. They believe in these dudes, but you got to remember, offensive line has to play as a unit. They have to play together. So individual skills are great, but they're no good if you can't play together. You know what I mean? So until they get used to playing with each other and become a solid unit, they're not going to be able to excel. But if they can keep this line together with the youth, the great awareness, the good physical skills, they could develop into a really nice offensive line. Again, just like the Giants situation, stick with the young guys, work with them, keep them together, and in a year or two, boom, they're moving up in the rankings.
So you got young guys blocking for a young guy. Your next team, the youth is not so evident, at least at quarterback. Tell me about the next group.
The next group, number 29, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they're actually going to have 3 new starters up front after they underachieved pretty badly last season. Ben Roethlisberger obviously does not have, he never was a really mobile quarterback. And now it's to the point where not only is he not mobile, but he can't throw the ball with people hanging all over him like he used to when he was much younger. Let me see what I got here. Okay, so we got a 4th-year vet, but he's a first-time starter. Chukwuma Okorafor. Chukwuma Okorafor. First-time starter. He moves from right tackle to left tackle, which I just talked about can happen sometimes. And that's going to be the situation here. He's going to need to show a lot of improvement, though. Obviously, he was a good right tackle, not a great one. But because they have a left tackle issue, and left tackle is a very important position because he covers the quarterback's blind side, they're going to move Okorafor over to the left tackle. The right tackle will now be Zach Banner. Zach Banner is a good run blocker, but he's a little below average in pass protection. So he's going to have to improve in that. The right guard, David DeCastro, was very good in pass protection, but he struggled last year in run blocking, and he has since been released. And I'm not sure he's been picked up by anybody yet either. He's been around for a while. He's had some injuries. So last I heard, he's contemplating retirement. But David DeCastro was pretty much a beast in his day, but getting near the end of that time. So left guard now will be Kevin Dotson. Dotson also struggled in the run game, but he proved to be an excellent pass blocker. The center, Marquise Pouncey, has retired. This is why they have all these new starters, all these guys that they've been riding with all these years. And this is why some teams like to get young guys, stick with them, roll with them, you know what I'm saying, and get the group going, because this is what happens. Your line gets old, you got to replace people. So that's where the Steelers are at right now. He's retired. So fourth-year player J.C. Hassenauer and third-round rookie Kendrick Greenwell will compete for the job at center.
Okay. Well, now, are they young or are they just kind of new? I didn't really pick up their ages.
These are guys that have been around a little bit, but they're first-time starters. So they've been on the team. They didn't sign them from free agency, but they were backups. So now they have to step up. So they've been on the team. They know the system. Okay. They just have to get on the field and prove themselves as starters. But they're not old guys. We're talking about third and fourth year starters, third and fourth year players rather.
Well, you know, Pro Football Focus has them rated one step higher than the Dolphins. But as I look across at the Madden ratings on these guys, I'm like, they would not be ahead of the Dolphins, you know, with a 64 for Okorafor, a 62 for Banner, and Dotson with a 70, you know. And I looked down just to see, again, the awareness. And whereas your Dolphins all awareness were all up in the 80s, these guys, they're giving them 68, 67, and 77 in terms of awareness.
Right. So what you have here is a team that had stud offensive linemen, and they kept them together for years and years and years, didn't address their depth situation, kept backups that weren't nearly as good, but they knew the system and could fill in if somebody get hurt or whatever. But that was basically all they were. And now with injuries, releases, and retirements, these guys now have to step up. Whereas the Dolphins situation is completely different. They went high in the draft and picked young guys that project to be much better. See what I'm saying? So, you know, when you have a good player and you know you have to back him up with somebody, you can't always back him up with another good player. Because if you have another good player sitting on the bench behind him, that's kind of a waste. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to get too deep into this because we had this same conversation when we talk about backup quarterbacks. So I don't want to go too deep in that. The problem with the Steelers is they waited too long. They waited too long. If you know your backups are not even close to as good as your starters, and your starters are already old, you need to address that a year or two ahead of time. The Dolphins did it. The Steelers did not.
That's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because we're talking about Dwayne Haskins potentially having an opportunity to play with Roethlisberger, maybe having one at best 2 years. But if that offensive line is not good, then it'll be the under on the 1 or 2 years. It won't be the over for the number of years. So, all right, who's up next?
Up next, number 28 would be the New York Jets. The Jets have some true potential if certain players make positive strides. Second year left tackle, Mekhi Becton. Okay, I believe I remember him being a pretty high draft choice last year. He's a mauler in the run game, and he's a pretty good pass protector. I think he's going to be a Jet for a long time. He's going to anchor that offensive line, and he's a young guy. Right tackle is George Fant. He came over from Seattle last year. He ranks as a below average tackle according to Pro Football Focus. So we're going to have to see what happens there. But they have him on the right side, so it might not be so critical. The center is Dan Feeney. He comes over from the Chargers. Again, you see a lot of guys moving here. They're obviously trying to address their offensive line, so they brought people in free agency. Problem is, Dan Feeney grades out as the second worst center in the league last year. That's crazy. And I didn't go into a whole lot of specific rankings for individual players. I tried to stick to individual players as far as what they're good at and what they're not good at, if they came over from another team, if they're a rookie, that kind of thing, but not an actual ranking. But some rankings just stand out. That's one of them. That could be a major problem. So you might see the Jets getting ready to make a move at the center spot if he can't hold it down. Now, they did pick an offensive lineman in the first round, Elijah Vera Tucker. We talked about him when we talked about the draft, this past draft here. He's expected to start at left guard, but he could compete with Fant at right tackle. They expect this guy to be a stud offensive lineman, but they don't want to rush him. He played guard and tackle in college, so he can do both. But they're not going to just shove him in at left tackle, the most important spot, because he's a rookie. So they're going to try to bring him along. So what they're going to do is they're going to put him at guard first. He may bump over to right tackle, and then who knows, in a year or two, maybe they bump him over to left. If he's the stud they expect him to be, that's probably what will happen. And at right guard, they have Greg Van Roten, and he's been an above average right guard. At least last year he was. So they're looking for him to be solid.
Mekhi Becton is rated 94 for strength on the Madden rating.
Yes. So the Jets are doing it the right way. See what they did here? Last year, they took a guy in the first round. This year, they took another offensive lineman in the first round. They brought two guys in free agency that aren't studs, but they're trying to hold that down. So they're addressing the group. It might take them a little while
between the unique differential in the awareness category between the Jets and the Steelers here on the Madden ratings, where your Jets are 89, 78, and 85. And again, that's what I was saying about those Steelers. I'm seeing things in the 60s. Like, if these guys have been around, that should be a higher number. Again, we understand it's a Madden rating, but they look very closely. And like you said, if you look at Mekhi Becton at a 94 strength, you know that they're not way off on a number of these things. That's relative strength. So,
right. But you got to remember also, in order to get ranking, you got to play. They have nothing to judge to give you a ranking if you're not on the field. So it's difficult. You know what I mean? Who knows? One of these guys that's been sitting on the bench could actually come in and excel.
That would be a good surprise for the Steelers. Yes, it would.
It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. That could be a good surprise. So, all right, then. I like that. I like that. All right. Next up, who do we have?
Okay, number 27, we're looking at the Chicago Bears. Now, let me start this off by saying Chicago Bears, both of their starting tackles have moved on in free agency. That's a big deal. Okay, and you will hear their names later. All right. Charles Leno Jr. is now with Washington football team, and Bobby Massey is now with Denver. They were not traded. They were released. Interesting. I don't know what to say about that, but when we talk about them later, when we get to those two teams, hopefully you'll have their ratings, their Madden ratings up, and we can see if we see something that would, kind of let us know what the Bears were thinking when they let them go. But if you let both of your starting tackles go, you got to fix that ASAP. All right. So they got a second-round rookie. They got a rookie coming in. They drafted in the second round, Tevin Jenkins. He's going to take over at left tackle. Tough job for a rookie. They got him in the second round. I believe he was a first-round talent, or probably had a first-round grade. But like I said, when we were talking about linebackers and what have you, some guys that had first-round grades may have dropped because there was such a rush on wide receivers in this particular draft that just passed. So I'm not going to look down on him because he went in the second round. Tevin Jenkins is going to be a good player. He's a very powerful run blocker. He's a solid pass protector. He proved that in college. They're expecting him to step right in and be the left tackle.
So let me stop you for 1 second. What you're telling me is that we have a second round rookie that they expect to start at left tackle.
That is correct.
Okay. That's some respect for. Go ahead.
You know, they scouted this guy and they felt highly enough about him that they released their starting left tackle.
Wow.
We can only sit back and watch and see, okay? But if they're right and they hit on this guy, he could be a mainstay for years to come. You know, that's why you hire scouts. That's why your coaches get all that big money. Jermaine Ifedi came over from the Seahawks. Also, Elijah Wilkinson came over from the Broncos. They'll both compete for the right tackle spot. Both of them have had issues in the run game, but they're both pretty solid pass blockers. So they expect them to be pretty solid there. Cody Whitehair and James Daniels will likely be the starting guards. Whitehair is a very good run blocker, but he's been kind of graded as a poor pass protector. So again, you got a couple of guys that are going to be a little iffy, but you know, we can see what happens in free agency, what happens before the trade deadline, or we can see them going high in the draft and try to get this thing cooking. But they're working with what they got right now.
Well, according to the Madden ratings, the awareness for Fetty is 78, Cody Whitehair is 87, and Elijah Wilkerson is 82. They're grading out overall on Madden at a 69 for Fetty, a 80 for Whitehair, and a 69 for Wilkinson. So they got what's his name, the Red Rifle at quarterback. Then they got Justin Fields behind him, Dalton, and Justin Fields there.
Yep.
So both of those guys they better have that quick passing game in effect.
Well, I mean, we'll see, okay, but they're not number 29. They're like number 25. I mean, 27. They're offensive line is funny. Like I said, this is a true group. This is a group of guys who really have to play together. And whatever run schemes they're running and whatever pass protection schemes they're using, if these guys can play together, they can cover up any deficiencies that any individual one of them has. So if the rookie comes in and he's solid in the run and the pass, and Whitehair comes in and he's better than average against the run, but kind of okay in pass protection, the guys can help each other out. You know what I mean? The important thing is that they work well as a unit. And when you got guys coming in from different teams, you have to give them a moment to gel. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the quarterbacks are going to get away unscathed. Obviously, they're going to have their issues, but they're working on it. And that's what you're going to see with a lot of these teams here in the bottom half of these rankings. They're trying to address any issues that they have on the offensive line.
All right. Well, they got their job cut out for them, no doubt about it. Who's up next?
Up next, number 26, we're looking at the Minnesota Vikings.
Same division.
Yes. Now the Vikings, now remember, the Vikings have Dalvin Cook. They're a run-centric team with some explosive wide receivers and a quarterback who's basically, at this point, even though I've been trying to defend him, fair to middling. The guy's fair to middling, okay? I'll tell you this. I don't want to get off on a tangent. Kirk Cousins sucks in big games. That's his problem. He's a front runner. When they're rolling and their run game is cooking, Dalvin Cook, get it? When their run game is cooking, Kirk Cousins looks great. But when he's really got to go downfield, even though he has Justin Jefferson and he has Thielen, it's not them, it's him, okay? Now, that being said, looks like they're going to be pretty strong at tackle. You got a first-round rookie coming in. This guy, I remember his name, and I remember speaking highly of him when we did our draft video, and he went in the first round, Christian Darrisaw. You remember that name, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. He looks like a stud. He excelled in the run game and in pass protection in college. They're going to plug him right in, right away at left tackle. The right tackle is Brian O'Neill. He's consistently good pass protector, and he graded, again, here's a guy that I'm going to give you his individual Pro Football Focus grade. He graded out as the number 8 run blocking tackle last season. Number 8 of all the tackles, of all the right tackles, excuse me, in the NFL. That's strong, okay? That's strong. The center is Garrett Bradbury. Right guard is Ezra Cleveland. Both of them are excellent in the run game. Notice everybody I named so far is excellent in the run game, okay? He struggled a little bit in pass blocking, though. The right guard, Ezra Cleveland, struggled a little bit in pass protection. Mason Cole and Wyatt Davis, they'll compete for the left guard spot. So if you play fantasy and you can get Dalvin Cook, he's going to have a good season. These boys are maulers. They are road graders. If they can't do nothing else, they can run the ball. And if they can bring a good run game week after week after week, they can take a little pressure off of Kirk Cousins, and then maybe his passing game can get going.
Okay, that's one way to look at it. Overall, they're all in the 70s, 78 for O'Neill, 79 for Bradbury, and Ezra Cleveland at 70, and decent awareness numbers, you know? So now this is the question. I'm listening to you, and they're talking about Dalvin Cook. And I'm like, okay, are they great because of Dalvin Cook? Was Dalvin Cook great because of them?
Dalvin Cook is really good on his own, but he's great because of them. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. All right. Next up, who we got?
Next up, number 25, the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, we're talking about offensive line. So if you hear a team mentioned, the first thing you want to think about before we talk about the offensive line is, did they protect the quarterback, and how did their running back do? Josh Jacobs is a really good running back, and he's had some good years. Last year was a little bit of a down year for him, but this is what we got. So we got a fourth-year player at left tackle. That would be Colton Miller. He's got some work to do improving his run game blocking, but he's a very impressive pass blocker. So that's a good thing, and he can improve his run blocking. That's what they expect from him. They have a rookie coming in, a first-round pick, Alex Leatherwood. He's an excellent run blocker, but only an average pass protector. Now, again, you know, guys coming in as a rookie, so they can only judge him by what he did in college. But again, a very, very good run blocker who can improve on his pass protection. Now we got an old head here, 17 years, Richie Incognito, the model of consistency. He's the left guard. He's been playing left guard or right guard, mostly left guard, his entire career. okay, for Buffalo and a couple other teams. Incognito is the model of consistency at left guard in the run and the pass. That's why he's been around so long. That's why he's been a starter everywhere that he goes. Right guard, Denzel Good, grades a little bit below average. And Andre James and Nick Martin will compete for the center job. So I forget who they said had the edge there. Martin came over from the Texans. He's probably a little bit better player. He'll probably get the center job, but there is a competition there in camp to watch out for.
He's the lowest rated on Madden at 70. Colton Miller comes in at 79, and there's Richie Incognito, who is traditionally known as a bad boy. He's gotten into some scuffles and he's had some issues. Fit right in with the Raiders, and he's got the highest grade there at 90, with 94 for strength. And all of these guys are pretty good in the awareness level. I always look at awareness, especially when you've got players who are on their own. Cognito coming in at 95 in awareness.
That's amazing. 17 years this guy's been around.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I mean, I know he's had his issues. He's been in trouble. He's done some questionable things. But when you get between the lines, he gets the job done.
Hall of Fame?
Wow.
I just thought I'd mess with you because you did that to me.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. Wow.
Because I didn't know that long. I couldn't say, when you said how long it's been, it's like, his name's been around so long, you kind of just,
Yeah, he's got some negative stuff on his resume, but none of it has anything to do with playing football. So, you're talking Hall of Fame, you're talking about votes from writers. You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know what you're going to get. All right. What you got coming up next?
Number 24, the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay. Left tackle Jonah Williams was rated the 12th best pass blocker among tackles last year. That's among all tackles. Okay. So Joe Burrow's got himself a solid left tackle. That's a good thing for the Cincinnati Bengals. They need a little work in the run game, but they got a really good back there in Joe Mixon. So if he can improve his run game blocking, then that's a good thing for Joe Mixon. The right tackle is Riley Reef. He was signed away from the Vikings. Consistently good run blocker, obviously coming from the Vikings. They got a second-round rookie coming in, Jackson Carman. He played tackle at Clemson, but they're going to use him at guard. He's got great size, really good power in the run game. He's going to play right guard, but he could compete for right tackle. So we'll see about that. They drafted him in the second round, so they expect big things from him. If he comes in and he's as good as they expect, they could move him to right tackle. Trey Hopkins is the returning center, but they have several other players supposedly not competing at center, but competing at left guard. So left guard's a little questionable right now. We'll have to tune in to the Cincinnati Bengals camp. Once camp starts, check in with the network and see what's going on there at the left tackle spot. That's a position that's up for grabs.
Well, they all grade pretty decently. I'm looking at awareness in the high 80s for Jonah Williams, Riley Reef, is it? And Trey Hopkins. Strength-wise, nobody outstanding like Incognito up in the 90s, but all strong at basically at 85 in that range right there. Looking overall at their grades here, they're coming in at 75, 73, and 72.
Watch out for the Bengals.
Watch out for the Bengals, and again, their quarterback's coming back. He showed great promise last year before he had his injury. But, hey, watch out for the Bengals. Is that what you said last week? You had me watching out for somebody else last week. I forget who it was.
No, that was somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Before we go any further, remind people, especially for our radio audience, that we are on Fridays from 6 to 7:30 on WJRL 953.com. You can find us on YouTube. This is Ben and Barry on football, and our website is just that, www.benandbarryonfootball.com. All right. And all the social media stuff you can find at the website. All right, where are we at, Benny?
We are at number 23. That would be the Atlanta Falcons. Wow.
Falcons.
Here's another one I question, okay, because the Falcons did not run the ball very well last year. But Matt Ryan was basically Matt Ryan, and he threw it all over the place. Calvin Ridley is coming into his own. Julio had a decent year. He's gone now. Russell Gage, I think, is going to step in his spot. So pass protection wasn't really an issue, but running the ball actually was. So let's see what we got here for the Atlanta Falcons. At left tackle, Jake Matthews is a top-rated pass protector. Like I said, they do pretty well in the pass protection department. But run blocking needs to improve. He's only average in the run game. He's not terrible, but he's basically rated as an average run blocker. We got a third-year guy at right tackle. That would be Caleb McGarry. He's improved each year that he's been around. Remember what I said about guys coming into their own around about the third or fourth year. So this guy's going into his third year. They're expecting him to play a lot better. And he happens to be a guy that's a little bit better at the run than he is against the pass. So I keep saying against. These are offensive linemen. I am terribly sorry. It's been a really long day. He's a better run blocker than he is a pass protector. But again, a young guy, he can improve. Were you trying to say something?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm looking at these Madden ratings, but you finish up and we'll mention them.
Okay. Guard spots look to be held by a third-year guy named Chris Lindstrom and a rookie coming in, third-round guy, Jalen Mayfield. So I don't know if they're just going to give them the jobs, if they're just going to walk in for this, or if they're going to have to compete. But the main thing is they lost their center in free agency, Alex Mack. He is now with the Niners. Center could be an issue. They brought in Matt Hennessy. I think he came over from the Vikings. You might have to help me out with that. I don't have a lot on Hennessy. Oh, there he is right there on your Madden ranking. What do they got him at? A 79? That's not terrible. Awareness 76. That's not terrible. Strength 83. I think Hennessy will fit in pretty well with their line. He is a veteran. Looks like they've got a pretty good side, pretty solid group, but obviously they're going to have to improve on their run game. So we'll see what happens.
Just a quick look here. Matt Hennessy, drafted by the Falcons, third round, 78th overall in the 2020 draft.
Oh, so he was a rookie last year.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. I heard the name Hennessy, and for some reason the Vikings came to mind. I think I'm thinking about somebody else. But okay, so we got a young guy stepping in for Alex Mack, who is basically the best center in the doggone league, okay, who's now with your team.
Yes, my beloved. Oh, wait a minute. 49ers.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Rich get richer. Rich get richer.
We ain't the king yet. We're not the king yet. That's for sure.
You're doing the bottom half here, so you better hope I don't say your team's name here.
Oh, man.
Anyway, number 22. Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, wait. Before you leave, this was the Falcons.
Yes.
I just want to mention awareness very high for Jake Matthews at 93, Caleb McGarry at 85, and Matt Hennessy at 76. So not bad. And then when you look at their overall ratings, Jake Matthews coming in at 81, Caleb McGarry at 71, and Hennessy at 68.
Yeah,
So
these
they got
guys
a
are.
little bit of work to do, but at least they know what they can. They got something pretty solid on that left tackle side.
Yeah, they've all proven that they can pass block. They keep Matt Ryan clean, and that's important because Matt Ryan's getting up in years now, you know. But they're never going to be able to have a good balance to their offense until they can improve their run blocking. They got a new running back now. Mike Davis came over from Carolina, had a real good year last year as a young guy. Todd Gurley is nowhere to be found. I have no idea where he is. I don't think he's been signed to any team. So they brought in Davis. I think Davis will do well there, but the line is going to have to work on their run game.
All right. So that takes care of that group. Who's up next?
Up next now, we have number 22, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team that everybody's going to be looking at, a team that wasn't very good last year, had a big turnover in their coaching staff, brought in a brand new head coach, college guy, not even really fresh out of college because he was doing TV the last year or two. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Urban Meyer does with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But as far as their offensive line is concerned, they have a lot of potential to move up in the rankings from where they were last year. So they got them at 22 here. They expect, Pro Football Focus expects the Jaguars offensive line to be ranked higher next year. They return all 5 of their starters. Their last year, left tackle is coming into his 5th season. His name is Cam Robinson. They kept him on the franchise tag, so that tells you something. You don't see linemen getting franchise tag very often. Okay, he was the starter last year. He will start again. 5th year, so guys come into their own around 3rd or 4th year. He's in his 5th year. They're going to lean on him quite a bit. Right tackle is Jawan Taylor. Now, he struggled in pass protection last season, but it was just his 3rd year, and he's got really good strength. I don't know if you have his Madden rating. Yeah, you got Jawan Taylor there. What's his strength rating?
His
89.
strength rating is 89.
Right, so he's highly touted for his strength. Coming into his 3rd year, they're expecting him to play a lot better. Left guard is Andrew Norwell. He was the 6th rated pass protecting guard by Pro Football Focus. And the right guard is AJ Cann, 13th ranked pass protector. These guys are good, man. These guys are kind of good. And they're pretty young. And the whole group is coming back intact.
That's a strength. I'm looking at Norwell coming in at a 91 in the awareness rating. He's got the highest overall rating at 82. Jawan Taylor and Cam Robinson are coming in at 72 and 75 respectively, which is not bad. And like you said, if these are guys that are on the upswing and they get some more support coming in, that's not bad. But it's why they're ranked where they are, though.
Right. When you know that you have a rookie quarterback and that's going to start from day one, you don't want a whole bunch of changes on your offensive line. You want to keep confusion down to a minimum. So if you can bring back all 5 starters and they didn't stink last year, then that's the right thing to do. That's a good thing. These guys, every year they work as a unit, they will work better and better together as a unit.
All right. Next up, I think these guys were wishing and hoping that they got a new quarterback, but this guy keeps playing these mind games, and so that didn't happen. What do you think about this next team?
Well, the next team is number 21 ranked. They are the Denver Broncos. This is the team that I told you got to watch out for when I spoke of someone to watch out for last year. Okay. At left tackle, we have Garrett Bowles. He's ranked number 4 for tackles in both the run and in pass protection.
Wow.
This cat's nice. Okay. The right tackle is Jawan James. Now, he opted out in 2020. Then he tore his Achilles and he was released. So guess what? I just said he's the right tackle. He will not be the right tackle. This is the guy that we heard about on the news, and it was the big hubbub with the players union and all that stuff about guys working out on their own. And the NFL came out with a statement warning guys about getting injured when they're working out on their own with their own personal trainers, that they could possibly be released and their contracts could be voided and all this gloom and doom. Well, this guy's the poster boy. It happened to him. He's out of there. So what they did was they found out that the Bears released Bobby Massey. I promised you those names will come up. This is one of them. Bobby Massey was released by the Bears. He has been signed by the Broncos. He will step into that right tackle spot. The left guard is Dalton Risner. He's been average, but he's coming into his third year. Here we go again with the third year, fourth year thing. So they're expecting a lot of improvement out of him. The right guard is Graham Glasgow. He's been consistently above average in both the run and in pass protection. The center is Lloyd Cushenberry III. It's funny. What I read from Pro Football Focus was he was basically a bust his rookie year, which was just last season. So they got a guy in the third round to come in and challenge him for the job. That would be Quinn Miners, or it could be pronounced Miners, Meinerz, but he will push for the starting job over Cushenberry. Cushenberry was not good last year. Not good at all, but he has a chance to redeem himself. He's still young, and he's got a rookie on his tail. So we'll see what happens there once that camp starts.
You know, when you're looking at awareness for a center, you want a high number. He's coming in at 79, and compared to Bob Massey, who's coming in at 84, and Garrett Bowles at 93. You can see that, why he
Bowles and Massey are vets.
Right. He graded out at, came in an overall rating of 69 on the Madden, 73 for Massey, and 84 for Bowles. So you got those vets there to kind of hold things down while he gets his act together. But he's the center. He's the one that's calling out those blocking schemes.
That's correct. He makes the calls. So he was bad enough that they went right back the very next year and drafted another center. And they're just going to let them battle it out. Obviously, they believe in going with a youth movement rather than trying to find one in free agency. One of these guys has to pan out. Cushenberry could get better, or the rookie could come in and he could take the job. We'll see.
All righty. Next up.
This is interesting. So number 20 is the Houston Texans. For the life of me, I do not remember the Texans having a decent run game whatsoever last season. They had David Johnson and yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, the crazy thing is they got good players. I would venture to guess, though, that they're far better collectively in pass protection than they are in run blocking. Left tackle is Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil played for the Dolphins. You may remember Laramie Tunsil, when he got drafted, was expected to go extremely high in the first round, and then a picture surfaced of him smoking weed with the gas mask on, if people remember that, and he ended up dropping in the draft. Well, Laramie Tunsil plays for the Houston Texans now. He is an elite pass blocker. His run blocking could use some improvement, but he is an elite pass blocker, no doubt about that, and you have to have that at left tackle, and they've got that. Marcus Cannon is a guy that opted out last year and was let go by the Patriots. He opted out with the Patriots. They let him go. Texans signed him. So he's going to be the right tackle. In the past, let me see. Past grades put in, right tackle. Yes. So Titus Howard, who was the right tackle, is now going to move to right guard. The left guard will be Max Sharping. All these guys need work in the run game, but they're all pretty good pass blockers, which is good for Deshaun if he stays, and it'll be good for whoever ends up taking over the quarterback spot if he goes. So that's one good thing. But if they don't improve their run game, they're never going to have balance. Therefore, they're not going to be as good as they want to be on offense. That's the situation with the Texans.
Help me with the name, because we both know who it is. Isn't it the guy who was backing up Herbert, then got the needle in the lungs?
Oh, yes. Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor.
Brought in Tyrod Taylor as insurance to either back up Deshaun if he's still there or to take over for Deshaun. And they drafted a rookie who I can't remember who he is. But
he's pretty good though. The rookie, if I remember correctly, but I can't.
I can't remember his name, but I know that he was considered having a pretty good college career, but definitely not a guy that you can expect to plug in and start. They drafted him in the later rounds, so Tyrod Taylor, basically he's like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He moves from team to team, and he keeps things going until you get another guy to come in and take over until your young guy is ready. So,
well, that's one way to have a career.
Yeah, sure.
He's got a good left tackle, a really good left tackle. Some questionable people on the at left guard, and on that right tackle. Looking at the awareness and their rankings on Madden, or their ratings on Madden, I see a 96 for Tunsil, 84 for Titus, and a 72 for Sharping. So those guys are coming in at 89 for Tunsil, 70 for Titus, and 67 for Sharping. So Tunsil, go left, young man. Go left, run left, roll left.
Yeah, I mean, Tunsil's a stud. He can pass block with the best of them. Okay, but again, till you get your run game going, you're not going to be able to really proceed with having a good ball control offense, or an offense that's balanced enough to really push defenses around, keep them on their heels, and score points. I don't care who you put back there to run the ball. If you can't move the defensive line off the line of scrimmage, you're not going to get anywhere. That's David Johnson's problem. He hasn't had the luck to play behind a good offensive line. The guy basically has had one stellar season, and after that, he's been an afterthought. So, here's another team, the Texans, with a center issue, so much so that their center, Justin Britt, had retired. It didn't play last season, and they're bringing him back out of retirement. Okay?
Really?
Again, another issue at center, but at least this is a guy who had been on the team, probably knows most of the schemes, knows the signals, and can at least call the offensive line signals for them. So until they do, somebody else.
Tenuous situation at center. Yeah. Man, that's not the place you want a tenuous situation. All right. Speaking of tenuous, the quarterback for the next team called out his linemen a little bit. And that's where we first heard one of the NFL guests use the term, what did he call it? Burping the baby?
Burping the baby, if you don't know that term, just means when the quarterback has the ball up and he's ready to pass it, but he's not quite ready to pass it, and you see him pat the ball like this, like, nah, and then they throw, that's burping the baby. So basically, if your offensive line has a problem with the quarterback burping the baby, what he's telling you is you're holding the damn ball too long. We cannot block forever. So that was their comeback to Russ when he questioned the offensive line. I don't think he meant for it to come out the way that he said it. I know he respects those guys. I know he's one of them quarterbacks that goes out and buys Rolexes for guys and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's not that he doesn't love his guys. It's just that he got hit a lot. But in my opinion, before I get into these guys, in my opinion, he got hit a lot due to the let Russ cook thing that permeated through their building, okay, where he started off hot as a firecracker, but after a while, teams started getting to him. He was doing too much. He's doing too much. The offense lost balance. Teams started teeing off on him. What are you going to do? If they know you're going to come out and throw the ball all over the yard, then they're going to pin their ears back and they're going to come at you. I don't care how good your offensive line is. Once they set their minds to saying, screw this, you're not going to run the ball, so we're not even going to respect it, and we're coming at you hell-bent, your quarterback's going to get hit a lot. That's what happened. That's my opinion. So, you know, that's how I see it. However, Dwayne Brown, slots in at the left tackle. He's consistently been one of the best offensive linemen, ranked 5th among all tackles last year by Pro Football Focus. So there you go. You got an all-pro guy, you know, constant all-star on your line. You don't want to talk down about your line. Your right tackle is Brandon Shell. Last season was probably his best season, according to Pro Football Focus. Again, this is 2 out of the 5 guys that you shouldn't have anything bad to say about. Now, Damian Lewis is coming in. This is his 2nd year. He was very good in the run game, but very bad in pass protection. So if there's a leak, that was probably it. Damian Lewis is going to have to improve in his pass protection. Now, let me see. He's going to move from right guard to center. So this is going to how they're going to try to fix this. Lewis was at right guard. He's going to move to center. Gabe Jackson came over from the Raiders in a trade. They're going to plug him in at right guard. Left guard, up for grabs. We'll have to see how things go in camp.
All right.
That doesn't sound terrible to me. Russ should have used his words a little wiser when he was talking about his issues with the offensive line. Instead of making it sound like he was throwing them under the bus, he should have taken into consideration that, you know, when you come out firing play after play after play, whether it's working or not, teams are not just going to sit back and let you do that. And if you overthrow the ball, they're going to overrush you because they have to get pressure on you if they know you're going to throw the ball all over the yard. The DBs are not going to be able to stand up to that, whether they're ready for it or not. So you got to have a tough pass rush. And once these pass rushers decide, you know what, we just coming. We just coming. We're not going to respect the run. We're just coming. We'll leave the run game up to the linebackers. We're coming for your ass. And that's basically what happened. That's why he got hit a lot.
All right. All right. As I look at the Madden ratings for Dwayne Brown, Brandon Shell, and Damian Lewis, first of all, if Damian's moving the center, I'm looking at his awareness at 84. Not bad. Not bad. Now, Dwayne Brown is 90 and Brandon Shell is 82. So, you know, they're all, you know, pretty smart guys. That's a pretty good line there. Now, Brandon Shell is coming in at a 68 overall rating at right tackle. Damian Lewis was 72. We'll see what happens when he goes to center. And Dwayne Brown at left tackle, 83. So, and this strength is rated at 90. So you got a good, strong left tackle there. Mr. Wonderful. My NFC West, man, I tell you, can't be messing around in the NFC West, boy. They're actually questioning now whether or not that's the strongest division in the league.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yeah, that conversation has just recently started, so we'll have to see how that goes. All right, we're just about done for our listing. We got what, a couple more to go here?
We got 3 more to go.
3 more to go. All right, what do we got?
These teams are basically in the middle of the pack, or I should say, these offensive line groups are pretty much in the middle of the pack. They can rise or they can fall, depending obviously on, the outcome of games and how well they play and the teams play. But this is where they're at right now. So at number 18, we're looking at the Los Angeles Chargers. Los Angeles Chargers. They're coming in with 4 new starters. And at left tackle, again, we're going with a rookie right out of the gate. A name you should remember when we talked about linemen and we talked about guys that we expected to go in the first round. This was one of the very highly ranked offensive linemen. This guy was, in fact, a guy that I thought if my team, the Giants, wanted to go O-line with their first pick, that they should go after this guy. His name is Rashawn Slater. So Rashawn Slater will come right in and man the left tackle spot. The right tackle goes to a veteran, Brian Bulaga. I'm sure you've heard his name before. Played some years with the Green Bay Packers. Solid in the run game, solid in pass protection. He's coming off an injury from last season, though, but he's a really good player. So they expect him to bounce back and be just as good as normal. Center Corey Linsley, also one of the best centers in the league and an elite pass protector. So really good there up the middle with the center. Both guards came over in free agency. So these guys are new to the team. Matt Filer, I think it's Filer, came over from the Steelers, and O'Day Abushi came over from Detroit. They are both unspectacular, but at least solid veteran players. So we're looking at a team that looks like they're going to be strong at the tackles, solid at the guards, with a really good center. You got a great young quarterback, and you got a nice run game, an elite pass receiver in Keenan Allen. Watch out for the Chargers offense. They could really excel this year. This group comes together, becomes a solid group. Because again, although they're all good players, 4 of them will be starting together for the first time. But if they gel quickly, could be formidable.
And they have a new coach.
Yes.
First-year coach. That's one of the bigger question marks. We're pretty confident in their quarterback. I'm looking at these ratings here, and as we move toward the upper half of these line rankings, you begin to see the physical attributes follow suit. You got an awareness for Brian Bulaga of 93, Corey Linsley 97. I mean, you get a special pair of cleats when you hit 99. Yeah. They send you the Madden cleats, and Matt Fowler coming in at 85. So they've got a brainy group there, and they're ranking out.
I'm gonna have to do some research and find out how did Linsley get away from the Packers.
Yeah, he heard that Aaron wasn't coming back, so he wrote.
That wasn't it. My guess would be it had something to do with money. Well, that'd be my guess.
Yeah.
They didn't want to pay him, or they weren't unable to pay him, one or the other.
One of that could be one of the sources of irritation for Aaron.
I'm sure it didn't make him happy.
I'm sure it didn't. Your center goes. I mean, you and the center are kind of intimate. You know what I mean? But you got an 88 and an 88 for Bulaga and Linsley, and a 74 for Filer. So, Mr. Herbert should be feeling pretty good back there and have a few moments to get done what he wants to do. Run game should get going. like you said, watch out for the Chargers.
Absolutely. This is a group I expect to be in the top half, no doubt about it, next season.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. All right. We only have two left here.
Who left? Number 17, the Philadelphia Eagles. So, left tackle will go to Andre Dillard. He struggled his rookie year. And as a first-round pick, oh, yeah, he was a first-round pick. That's the important thing. You know, the whole Jason Peters thing was getting old. They knew they had to replace him. They worked him as long as they could. He tried to hang around as long as he could and give him all he could. So they went in the first round. They got Andre Dillard, and he struggled. Then last year, he missed the entire year, I believe. I'm not sure he even played one game because of an injury. But he'll be back. They expect him to be back and be healthy. He's young. He's going to man the left tackle spot. At right tackle, you have a perennial Pro Bowler in Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson's a really good player, dominant run blocker, very solid in pass protection. Lane Johnson's a good player. Another guy that's a little iffy on the injury side. He's been in and out of the lineup sometimes, but when he's healthy, he's solid. At right guard, Brandon Brooks. He missed last year due to an injury, but he'll be coming back. He's coming in for his 10th year, but he's still an elite pass blocker. Not great in the run, but above average. The left guard is Isaac Seumalo, who was great in pass blocking, but very lacking in the run game. So a lot of people were kind of surprised that Miles Sanders didn't get off like they needed him to and expected him to last season. Again, you can have great players here and there, but if you have one guy that's a little lacking, you know, the run game has to be schemed properly. You know, whether you use gap schemes or what's that scheme that the Broncos used to do where they used to just wash everybody down. The name of it escapes me right now. Yeah. Whatever it is, if you have a weak link, it can kind of reflect on your entire group. So Seumalo is going to have to work on his run blocking. Jason Kelce is the center. He's showing a little slippage. He's getting a little long in the tooth. Didn't have a great season last season. So what they do, they went out and drafted a center in the second round. That would be Landon Dickerson. He is the future center of this team. He's a physical specimen, but this guy has had a lot of injuries. If I'm not mistaken, he has had surgery on both knees already. So how he holds up is going to be something to look out for. If Kelce can kind of bounce back and play better this season, then maybe Dickerson won't have to play and he can really get himself right. But if he's forced into action, it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold up. But again, like I said, he's a physical specimen, really big kid, supposedly really smart, should be able to take over at center. As long as he can stay healthy, he'll probably have a nice long future here in Philadelphia.
And you messed up the name Dickerson.
I called it, you know why? Because his first name is Landon. And when I said Landon, I thought Lane, and I said John.
Well, look.
A lot of names, man. It's a lot of names, bro.
A lot of names. Yeah, we're talking about line groups, man. You see Kelce and Lane Johnson coming in the high 90s, in the 90s anyway. Jason's at a 96. Andre Dillard at a 75. Jason Kelce coming in at a 93. Your center is really good. Your right tackle, 88. Dillard at 69. So it'll be interesting to see what this rookie can do, or he won't really have to do much, hopefully, if Kelce stays healthy.
Yeah, he may not have to. What they're really banking on is Dillard. Dillard didn't stay healthy long enough to actually make an impact. but they're really, really dependent on him to hold down the left tackle spot. If he comes through, then the Eagles line will be solid and they'll be able to do, what they need to do. And which is why their ranks so high. 17 is high.
17 is high, but your left tackle is your big question mark, eh?
Well, I wouldn't call him a question mark, okay? He was a high draft pick. They expect a lot out of him. If guys get hurt, what are you going to do? You got to put him on the shelf, get him right, and cart him back out there again and let him live up to his promise. But he's promising. He's supposedly a good player. And we will see.
We shall see. We shall see. All right, Benny. We're going to round out this session with number 16, is it?
Number 16.
Right in the middle.
Yes, the Washington football team. So I really get, I was going to say, now I'm not going to say that. I raise my eyebrows when I hear people on television and on the radio talk about the Washington football team and say, oh, they got a great defense, but their offense stinks. No, their offense does not stink. These guys made the playoffs with Taylor Heineke at quarterback, okay? These guys protected Alex Smith coming back off one of the most horrific injuries that you could ever imagine, okay? To the point where he had one of those halo things that you see around people's heads when they have massive head and neck injuries. He had one of them on his leg, then got infected and it almost killed him. This offensive line protected him and got Heineke, and rookie running back Antonio Gibson excelled behind this line. Their offense does not stink, okay? So let's get that out of the way. And that's why Pro Football Focus has them ranked at number 16. Now, talked about the Bears let two guys go. I talked about Bobby Massey. Here's where the other guy ended up. Charles Leno III ended up with the Washington football team. He was released by the Bears. He comes in and plays left tackle for Washington now. He's a consistent talent in the run game and in the pass game. Now, they did release their right tackle, Morgan Moses. This was a little bit of a head scratcher. I don't know if this was a money issue or not, but Morgan Moses was a very good player for Washington. They let him go, and they're going to hand the job, here we go again, to a rookie. Samuel Cosme or Sam Cosme, I think it's Cosme, is a name that you heard us mention. Excuse me, when we did our draft show, very highly rated coming out of college, got him in the second round. A lot of people had him with a first round grade. He's going to have to work on his pass blocking though. Evidently, I forget what college he went to, but it was a run-centric team, I'm pretty sure. He's extremely well-rounded in the run game, but his pass blocking is going to have to improve. The right guard is Brandon Scherf. Excuse me. Again, here's a guy on the offensive line that was franchise tagged. Brandon Scherf, the right guard, franchise tagged, is an elite pass blocker. Elite, okay? Obviously, he's a pretty good run blocker too. They franchise tagged him, and they had a decent run game last year. The center is Chase Rollier, who also excels in pass protection, and Wes Schweitzer will battle with Eric Flowers, who used to play for the Giants, at left guard. Just a little note, Eric Flowers is a really big dude. When you look at him, you think offensive tackle, you don't think guard. He failed as a left tackle for the Giants. They moved him to the right side. He is now playing left guard, which has fewer responsibilities than a tackle, they expect him to do well there.
Nice, nice, nice. Obviously, awareness. Leno comes in at 80, Scherf comes in at 88, and Roulier comes in at 88 on the Madden awareness rating. And when I looked at their overall rating, 79 for Leno, 87 for Scherf, and 77 for Roulier. Hey, not bad, not bad. I mean,
Not bad at all. I don't know.
Leno's been around a little longer than what I thought, though. You know, he's really got some time behind him. It looks like he came in at about 2014.
Okay.
With Chicago.
Yes.
So he's made a Pro Bowl. He's been around. So you've got some experience there. Hopefully he's healthy and he can continue to help that group. So that's your division competition, man. You got the Giants, the Eagles, and Washington, all from ranked in that range from 16 to 32.
Right.
So the one team that's not in that lower range, that's in your division, that's going to be interesting. We'll talk about them next week. So for our radio audience, we'll be finishing up. Remember to tune in every Friday from 6 to 7:30 at WJRL953.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And again, our podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Anchor Podcasts. All right, Benny, that wraps up that particular group of linemen. Any last comments on that?
No, next week's show, we're going to start at number 15 and go up to number 1. I think that'll be interesting. Again, as we go through the list, we're talking offensive line. So while I'm giving you names and I'm giving you positions, just kind of think in your mind, how did these guys look last year as an offense? Did they protect the quarterback? Was the quarterback sacked a lot? How was their run game? Do they have a star back? Do they have an okay back that played really well? Those are the kind of things you kind of want to think about going into this new year.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right. As we wrap up, Ben, I do want to mention next week, again, you said we're going to finish up the top half of the offensive linemen. We're going to be coming back with, what do we have yet? The DBs?
Yeah, we got DBs. We got DBs, tight ends, and receivers.
All right, so we got those three coming up. And somewhere in there, I want to talk about this article by Bucky Brooks where he basically ranks each position's importance from quarterback to returner. I just think that's going to be interesting. We did the one show where we showed all of the salaries for all of the salary, franchise tags.
Yes, the franchise tag numbers for individual positions, which sheds a lot of light on the importance of the position. So what he did was he came up with a list of the importance of individual positions as judged by him being a football aficionado, and also conversations that he's had with various coaches throughout the league, scouts, and, management people and things like that.
All right. Ben, we like to have a little bit of fun before we sign off. We want to go back to our Facebook page. And I don't know if you saw this picture, but when I saw this, I was like, holy mackerel. You got Gronkowski and the new rookie that's going to be blocking next to him. And he's like,
he's not new. He played last year.
Right. Give me his name again.
Last year. Tristan Wirfs.
Tristan, yeah. You know something that's funny? I blanked on that. But look at the size. I mean, just look at the size of this guy compared to Gronkowski. Now, Gronkowski is 6'5". He's actually a little short. I think he's 6'4", but he's like 50 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So, I mean, wow, that is an amazing thing. We have that picture up on both Instagram and on Facebook. I just thought that was an amazing picture. You got a chance to see that one, eh?
Yep.
All right. All right. We also had an article that I thought was interesting. Deion Sanders having a conversation, and what they're talking about is the changing expectations for those kids who he has in his program. And he says in this program that now his players expect that they're going to go pro.
That's wonderful.
Isn't it? I mean, that whole conversation, because, you know, as an HBCU, your expectations were low.
Yeah. It's funny. If you watch some of the programs that come on the network sometimes and they talk about, I don't even want to say old school football. I'm talking about like in the 50s and 60s, there were a lot of guys coming out of HBCUs that came in and were really, really great players and are now Hall of Famers. And over time, those numbers have dwindled. Like you might see one here or there in a draft, or even more likely than that, somebody pops up as an undrafted free agent. Maybe they got into a camp and got a chance to get a tryout or something. Yeah, it's dwindling now. Whereas if you get recruited by an SEC school and you end up going in there and starting, not even as a freshman, if you got to wait behind somebody else as a freshman and you get in there as a sophomore or junior and play well, you're trying to figure out, when should I hire an agent and what round am I going to go in? That's like automatic if you go to an SEC school almost. Whereas at an HBCU, some guys don't even give it a thought.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, we have professionals moving back to coach and work with HBCUs. Both, I've seen it now, both in the NFL and in the NBA. We just had a recent announcements in the NBA. A couple other things real quick. What do you think about the new move with Jordan Matthews trying to transition to tight end after gaining 30 pounds?
Really? I'm sorry. I love football. I love the NFL. But there's some things that I just can't really get excited about. I commend him for making an attempt at coming back. And Jordan Matthews played for the Eagles. He also played for the Buffalo Bills. And Jordan Matthews was a serviceable wide receiver. He was not great, but he was pretty good. And I thought he had a decent career, and he played well when he had his opportunities. Putting on 30 pounds to try to make a roster at tight end, I mean, I'm with him. I hope he does. If he can extend his career by doing this, that's a wonderful thing. If it's inspired by Tebow, so be it. You know what I mean? But more power to him. More power to him.
That might be a move Noah Fant needs to think about.
Noah Fant is a tight end.
No, I think he's listed as a wide receiver. No, wait. I said Noah Fant. I didn't mean Noah Fant.
Somebody else.
Who's the guy, the Patriots wide receiver, the one that wants to opt out now or wants to be traded all of a sudden?
N'Keal Harry?
N'Keal Harry. No, not even N'Keal Harry either.
No, sir. He better get better at what he's doing now. before he starts
Yeah.
thinking about another position.
All right, we're going to wrap this thing up. I just want you to get a chance to say a little something about Philly Bowl 6 crossing the Delaware.
Yeah, Philly Bowl 6 coming up in August. But before that, let me say this. The Philly Legends, my 35 and over flag football team, will be traveling down to Annapolis, Maryland this weekend. I'll be leaving Friday to go down and prepare for our first game, which will be Saturday morning. We're playing in the comp division, which is a division it's kind of like Division II. But all the teams will be playing are regular 8-man flag teams with young guys, where the majority of our guys are 35 years old and older. But we're doing this. We don't have to do this. We're doing this for the competition. We're trying to better ourselves by playing better comp, younger comp, faster comp, so that we can improve ourselves so that when we go to nationals and play other 35 and over teams, that we can make a push to win a national championship. So we'll be doing that this weekend. And then again, in a couple of weeks, we also will be playing in the comp division in Philly Bowl. Actually, I think Philly Bowl might be open. I'm not sure. If it's open, then it's just everybody. But if they have enough participants, there will be a pro division, a comp division, and maybe a rec division. And if in fact that happens, then we'll be in the comp division.
All right, Philly Bowl, listen here for August 14th, 8 a.m. Eastern time to August 15th at 5 p.m. Blade Brown is listed as the contact, and you can reach him on Facebook. And he's under the group PTTFL Legends. So, all right, that's going to be at the Kirkwood Soccer Club in Delaware. So, nice place, eh, Benny?
So I've heard. I haven't been there, but I've seen pictures. It looks beautiful. The grass is so nice. I thought it was turf.
Wow.
I had to really look at it. Like it's real grass. It's really nice.
Okay.
Very nice facility.
All right. Fantastic. Well, that wraps up this week's show for July 14th, 2021. Any last words?
Only last words I have is go Noles.